again, and welcome back. I'm Saeed, a DevOps engineer and a certified Kubernetes enthusiast. You can find me right here on this YouTube channel. Follow me on X at SaeedF0 and LinkedIn as Saeed. All of the links will be down below. And in this question, we're being asked to enable auditing in this Kubernetes cluster. We're going to be creating a policy file that will log events based on the specifications on the left side, as you can see right here. We'll then go into the Kubernetes API server, the manifest file for the static pod, and make some changes. And we'll test that out by actually running that operation in the given namespace against that resource. So let's dive right in there. Let's have a little look, see what's going on. So let's visit that policy audit file just to verify that there's nothing in there. The path for it's already been provided, so we just go straight into the Kubernetes documentation and we just search auditing. Cool. So auditing is important, obviously, as we all know. It sort of tells us, as we can see on the screen right now, it tells us what happened, when did it happen, who initiated that. This is good for security posture, and it's also best practice rather, to have that logged. Cool. So in the exam, you wouldn't be required, in any exam, be it the CKS, CKAD, or the CKA, you wouldn't be required to write manifests from scratch. It's an open book exam, so it's really important that we utilize the documentations provided. So as you would with any question, with any Kubernetes issue in a real world or even in the exam, you take from the resources provided and you customize it to fit your use case. So we take that policy file or that policy file template and we just get rid of all of the parameters or all the flags that we don't need. Cool. So there's two levels, we don't need that. We've only got one that's been specified. The level that we're looking to log is not the request response, rather it's the metadata. The metadata allows us to log requests like who the requesting user is, the timestamp or the timestamps of when or where that user requested from, the resources or the resource that had been attempted to be requested or, deleted or even, whatever the operation is that we're going to be logging. And also, of course, what operation that was. In our case, it's the delete verb or the delete operation that will be logged, and importantly, the namespace. So let's get that right. Cool. So we've got let's just validate that as you would, and I can't stress that enough in the exam or in any case, always validate your work, you know, always validate your work. So the level, metadata, the verb, delete, or the operation delete, the namespace. Ooh, see, it's good that I made this mistake. And if you realize the mistake that I made, drop a comment down below. Let me know if you've realized it before I did. Cool. The issue that I had just there was that the namespace, I had it singular. It's important that you follow the syntax for every keyword. Namespaces, even though it's just one namespace that you're using. Similarly, verbs, right? As opposed to verb, even though it's just one. So you can see here, if we could find the verb somewhere here, or verbs, where are we at with it? Yeah, there you go. So everything is in plural, you see. Not everything because levels isn't, but in any case, just follow. And it's sometimes, this is why at times it's easier and better to just copy it directly rather than rewriting it, you know? Rather than rewriting the provided template. Cool. And that's another, good reason to validate your work. So here we've got the level starting from the top, metadata, verbs, delete, which is the operation, namespaces, prod, right? The resources is not pods, is secrets. Cool. I'm happy with that. Now we can clear the screen and move over into our kube-api-server. And this is where a lot of the work goes down. Once that policy file has been created, we go into the kube-api-server. The kube-api-server is it's more or less the brains of the Kubernetes cluster, and this is where a lot of the actions happen, where the configuration happens, where the volumes and the mounts, the respective volume mounts are configured. So it's really important to not mess up, because if your Kubernetes API server, your kube API servers, it's misconfigured, your entire cluster is irresponsive, and that can be very dangerous in the exam and also in the working environment, because in the exam you may get a question on the same cluster, sorry, more than one question on the same cluster, and if you've messed up your kube API server, then your entire cluster's down and irresponsive. And I'll give you an example of that now. So if I just misconfigure that, that was deliberate, I put a K in there, that's obviously, let's have a look to see if that works. You see, the connection to the server control plane under the port 6443 was refused. Did you specify the right host or port? That is an example of a messed up Kubernetes API server. And that's very dangerous, because if you can't pinpoint where the issue is, it could be really painful to troubleshoot. Cool. So let's move into and back over into our documentations page. Just below the policy, got a number of different flags. Here is the section in which we configure the log audit backend using the kube-api server flags. And in the specification, we're told that the log path has been provided here, and the audit file location has also been provided. So we just need these flags to just have the API server point to the correct location. Just going to get rid of these little points. So let's grab that audit file, and we're going to place that right there. And we'll do the same for the log file provided here. Just copy that, and we'll just paste that right there. Of course, providing its log path. There is another thing that we're being asked to do, and that is to record or set a maximum days to keep the logs. Cool. That sounds like a retention policy to me. And here we've got a flag that says audit log max age. Don't read it as maxage, max age. Defined the maximum number of days to retain old audit log files. Be sure not to, conflict that with the max backup or the max size, because they will do two different operations. So let's introduce that flag in there, and we'll set that to 30 days as has been requested. So next we go down to check if the volumes have been mounted. In the exam, it may be the case that they've already mounted those volumes for you. So it's important you just quickly speed through that. It doesn't look like any log paths to me. So let's just grab that volume mount, and we'll just slap that in there. Nice one. Cool. Let's just get that looking a bit better. And then we'll move over into the host path. Just making sure that aligns well. And be sure to, again, follow the paths that have been provided. Don't know why I said it like that. It's got the audit, um, and that is the manifest file that we had. And then we've got here the audit log, which is the log file that we'll be logging to. And it's important that you set the read-only flag to false, because it's not going to be read-only, because of course we need to write to the log path, and then the respective or the corresponding volumes for that. Let's just get that in there. Cool. Let's follow it through. Again, same sort of thing, making sure that it's in the right positions. I know some people prefer the tabs, but I've gotten used to the space. So yeah, let me know if you use tab as a spacer in the comments. Cool. So the audit path here will be this path provided, and I know that the log path, as we have been told, is the path just here. There's another issue that I've spotted, and pause the video and comment it down below without cheating if you could see the problem. I'm going to give you a few seconds. I'll tell you what the problem is. So this volume audit log, the type of it is directory or create. In our case, it's a file or a file. File or create. And that is important to specify, because if you leave it as directory or create, then it will treat it like a directory. And you can't write to a directory the way you can write to a file. So let that load up. Don't know if there's any information on that. No, this is a blog page, but yeah, you could read about it in your own time. I think, yeah, here you go. So directory or create, if nothing exists at the given path, an empty directory will be created there. As needed with permissions to set 0755. Cool. That's the way it would have treated it if we hadn't changed it. But the file or create, if nothing exists at the path, an empty file will be created, and that's what we need. We need it to be an empty file until we have some action to log, not a directory. Cool. I'm happy with that. I'm going to quickly validate my file really quickly. So we've got the log path, audit policy file, audit log path, the max age being 30. Cool. And then we've got our volume mounts, which I'm happy with, and then the host name, host path, and the host path type. So let's quickly take a little look at our kube-api-server. Oh, sorry, I didn't even grab that. Head gone, mate. Head gone. Yep, I think we're back online 44 seconds ago. Okay, get pods. Oh, not yet. Sometimes it takes a minute or two. In the meantime, while it's loading up, we'll just quickly triple check our audit policy file. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And let's take a little look to just quickly make sure that this is a file and not a folder. Yep, happy with that. Lovely. So it looks like the kube-api-server is back up and running only 29 seconds ago. So it restarted.